right. Hello, wine-drinking people. We are back. It's October 13th, and it's time for What I Drank Yesterday Continued. That's right, folks. I drank so much yesterday, I couldn't get through it all in just one show. So, we're going to split up, and this is what I drank last night, actually. We had an event last night at the Tower Club, one of our monthly events, and we showed wines from the Piedmont, one of my favorite areas of the wine world. We had Jay Walmer from Selected Brands. We had Anthony Pannoni from his own company, Florida Wine Company, featuring Kermit Lynch wines. We had kind of like, the die-opposing teams there. We had Jay Walmer, the old-timer. We had Anthony Pannoni, the new-timer. Then we had Jay showing his new-style wines. And we had Anthony showing his old-school wines. So we had the old-timer showing new school. We had the new-timer showing old school. So kind of a paradox there, how things worked out. But a nice little crowd, about 20 people. And the difference between the old school in the Piedmont and the new school in the Piedmont, well, maceration times shorter, not as much tannins in those wines, more drinkable young. New barrique as opposed to old barrique. A lot of the old timers don't like the wood and that spice that it gives to the wine, but the new timers like a little bit of that. Hey, Angelo Gaia uses 100% new oak, but he steams the barrels or he puts water in them to leach out some of the spice because he doesn't want all that aggressive oak flavor. But, there's some people that are doing a mix of the two, but it was kind of interesting how it worked out. Well, Kermit Lynch is going to be more old school, and Mark DeGrazia, well, he's still a leader in this area. But some great stuff. It's a couple of Dolcettos last night. Hey, life is too short to drink Dolcetto. With that said, the Clerico Dolcetto was very nice, very fruit-forward, really soft and pleasing. And then the Guido Porro Dolcetto, which I'm sorry Anthony didn't make it on the sheet last night. I don't know what happened. A little lighter in style. That's what you'd expect from an older school producer. Hey, I missed the Granja. It's Granja. What's that? Sounds a little like something else I've heard of. But anyways, light, frizzante, and a little bit of a quinite kind of tonic note to it. Really different white wine, but really nice and refreshing. Probably good with a little vodka, chilled. But really nice. And then the two Barberas. We had Giovanni Corino's 2008. Very much fruit forward, really nice, really, a lot of Italians equate their Barbera to Merlot because it is forward and fruity, very pleasing. And then we had the Cantini Valpine, which is 2001 vintage. That's right, folks, this is their current release. Definitely a little more old school, some lovely sweet plum fruit to this wine, some nice black black licorice spice to that, and very smooth, but still with lovely freshness on this wine. Both of those really nice. The Scavino Rosso de Tavola, this is the entry-level wine from one of my favorite producers in the Piedmont. It's kind of a blend of Barbera, Nebbiolo, Dolcetto, Cabernet, everything they have, but really nice, really forward, very appealing. And then we had the Silvio Grasso Langhe Nebbiolo, really nice little wine, again, very more forward and more New World in style. Had some lovely kind of a spice nuance to the wine, lovely floral, and really ripe and jammy fruit to that also. And then we had a little Barbaresco from Silvio Gemello, and this is the Vincenziana. This wine, very classic, very light in color. A lot of people look at light-colored wines and they don't take them serious, but not light in flavor. Lovely red cherry liqueur, lovely rose petal fruit, a little bit of that black tar and spice you get, and then some big tannins showing up in the finish, but still fairly drinkable in style. Really nice little wine. And then the Guido Porro, last of the old world guys. The Barolo Santa Caterina, also light in color. And, this Barbaresco and Barolo, typically what you'd get from old school wines. The Barbaresco, a lot smoother, more drinkable, even though it was 06. And the Barolo, even though it was 05, which is a more forward and drinkable year, had a little more tannin and a little more structure. If you had them blind, you would guess Barbaresco Barolo, just because the Barolo's bigger. And not really a general rule today, because there's a lot of people in Barbaresco making just as big of wines as there are in Barolo. All right, well, a great tasting. Thank you very much, guys. I didn't mention the Moscato d'Asti, but hey, Moscato d'Asti is like the soda pop of wines, man. They were both good. The Bovio and the Tintero, both nice little Moscatos. Last night, I had dinner at Trina, and I've been looking forward to dining here ever since Chef Mark Militello and Tom have taken over. Tom in the front of the house, Mark in the back of the house. These are guys that were the guys at Mark's restaurant in North Miami. Mark's in Las Olas for years. I've known Tommy for a long time. He's the front of the house guy, very sharp. And Mark, what can you say about his food? I mean, one of the top chefs in South Florida for years. And, well, he's finally landed at a great location. We're going to be doing an event with these guys next Thursday night with Augustin Huneas Jr. And last night, we had dinner with Manny, Bill, and Hermes. And Manny busted out some great, unique stuff from Spain, and which I'd never had wines from this importer region before. This is the area on the Pyrenees, just before you get to France in the Med, and really interesting wines. And this winery, Peralada, XX number 7, and the Finca Garbet from them, really interesting wines, very concentrated and rich. The Garbet was 100% Syrah, and very big and black plum, some big rustic kind of earthy notes, and smooth and velvety on the palate though. Lots of minerality, dark cocoa and dark spices on the finish, really nice. But the XX, which is supposed to be their best wine, which is cheaper than the Finca Garbet. I didn't get that. But this is 100% Monastrell or Mourvedre, and really exotic nose, black spices, soy, black plum, black olives. Wow, a blockbuster on the palate. Very big. Mourvedre has this kind of savage and animal character to it. Really nice with layers of flavors. And there's only 45 bodegas in this area, and 95% of the wine stays right there in Spain. Well, of course it does, because I'm a damn wine genius, and I've never heard of Importa. I've been to Spain 2 or 3 times, and there's a lot of little wines like this from regions you haven't heard of. A tough sell at their price ranges, $50 to $100 a bottle. And then a wine from our good friend Alvaro Palacios, named Guadalupe's, the 2007. This is the first vintage, 50% Grenache, 35% Cinsault, the rest Cabernet and Syrah, and this very typical of what you find in the Priorat. You get that slaty kind of minerality you get from the soil called licorel, and then those fresh herbs and spices, fresh herbs and flowers that you get from that area. Lovely red berry fruit, a crushed raspberry coulis, and then soft and round velvety tannins, and then lovely structure to this wine. Kind of in between, right in between the Finca Dofi and the Les Terrasses in terms of its order, and that's kind of where it was in concentration. And then the 1994 Pesquera Janus. Wow, I've had this wine a couple times. This is killer. I mean, this wine had everything. Dried meat, sausage, fresh earth, old saddle leather, really silky and velvety on the tongue, softening out. 94, great vintage for Rioja Ribeiro del Duero. This wine had it all and more, and like I said, just continued to open up through the course of the evening. Very rustic, gamey notes, dusty, soft tannins, and still had lovely fruit there. Really nice. Hey, we finished up with one of my favorite dessert wines, the 1979 Torre Albello Pedro Ximenez. Wow, man, this wine is dark like motor oil and still relatively inexpensive. You can buy a half bottle for like $35 or $40 a bottle. We're going to get some more in the store. Lovely maple syrup, walnuts, dates, figs, and then lovely, wonderful richness and still fresh acidity, keeping the wine dry on the finish. And that's what I had to drink last night, folks. I'm your host, Andrew Lampasone, signing off for the Wine Watch, saying remember, always drink the good stuff first.